Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, from wherever this video finds you. Today we'll be dealing with Python variables. So in the previous lectures, we dealt with the Python print function. So today we'll just deal with Python variables. And the first question to ask yourself is, what's a Python variable? And basically a Python variable is a memory location. This is the location where various data types, various values are stored in Python. And it doesn't only apply in Python, but it also applies in other programming languages. And this is basically the use of the variables. So I can compare a variable to something like a bottle. So a bottle is basically used to store a number of uh, items. You can store liquid in it, you can store solid stuff in it, and many other things can be stored in a bottle. So I can compare then a bottle with a variable, and for a variable, as you've said, it can store different types of data types. And these data types, you can compare them to the different types of things that can be stored in a bottle. So uh, one thing to note is that we can have an example of data type, a variable of x, and we initialize a value like 70. So when we print the variable, which is x, it will end up giving us the value of 70. Okay, so this shows that this value of x inside it, it has this value, or rather this variable of x inside it, it has this value of 70. Okay, we can even store another variable, or rather another value like a string. So let's use a variable of y is equals to, so for strings, it's always accompanied with either double quotes, or rather two double quotes, or two single quotes. So for now, we'll use two double quotes. You can say my name is Mr. X. Okay. So and let me check what the issue is. Okay. So my name is Mr. X, and let's print the variable. So since we are dealing with this variable y, we'll write it here. So this is a parameter, or rather an object to this print function. So when you print it, you'll get the value, my name is Mr. X. So another thing to note about variables in Python is that they are not accompanied with the data types. Okay, so you don't explicitly define the data type. So for example, in other programming languages like Java, you have to explicitly define the data type that you want to use. For instance, I'll have to say that int x, and then it's accompanied with a semicolon, and then you can say x is equals to 20. So this is only done in static programming languages, okay? But for dynamic programming languages like Python, it's not necessarily that you define the data type explicitly, okay? So for Python, the programming language will automatically detect the data type, okay? And that's why we refer to Python as an infer language. So when you say that Python is an infer language, you mean that it automatically detects the data type of an expression, okay? And another thing you need to note is that we are recommended to use lowercase letters for variable names. But in the upcoming videos, we'll learn some of the rules of defining variables in Python. And for this one that I've stated, this is one of the main ones. So I'll just cover it in this lesson. And another thing you need to note is that while stating, or rather while writing your variables, they need to be well understood. Okay, or rather you need to define, or rather they need to kind of accompany what it is that you're doing, so that if there's someone who's reading your code, they can easily understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Okay, uh, or in short terms, you can say that your variables need to be well descriptive or well written. So for example, if my goal is to multiply two uh, integer values, so I'll come and declare the first variable. And since I'm using numbers, the first variable will be a number. So I'll come and write num1 and initialize a value maybe of 80. And the second value, let's say num2 is equals to 90. Okay. So since my goal is to multiply these two values, I can declare another variable of multiply. And in this variable, I'll assign these two values, but I'll assign them by multiplying them. So I'm saying num1 times num2. Okay. So for me to have the output of this multiplication, I'll have to use the print function. And in the print function, I'll declare this variable, or this uh, or rather the multiplication of these two values. So I'll come and write multiply, and when I print it, I'll have the value 7,200, that is 80 times 90. Okay. So these are some of the key things to note in the introduction to Python variables, but there's more to Python variables that we'll be continue learning in the upcoming lessons. But for now, thank you for listening, and I invite you to the next lectures and also the previous lectures that we've done so far. And stay safe and God bless.